Humor, laughter, is a great stress reducer. We get a lot of benefits, in fact, from laughing. We get what Norman Cousins called a mini workout. This is where we have respiration increasing, we have muscles in the chest and the abdomen vibrate, endorphins are released by the pituitary gland. They have a threefold effect. They act to elevate mood, they act to kill pain, and finally they have a relaxing, sedative effect. And you get all these benefits without any of the side effects that you get from using drugs. Anybody familiar with the value diet? No? Okay, here's how it works. You take 16 Valium a day and you lose weight. It doesn't curb your appetite, but the food keeps falling out of your mouth. Glad to be here. I just got back from a big international speaking tour. 2 nights in Vancouver. But actually, I spent a lot of time up in Canada. I just love it up there. In fact, I was stationed in Canada during the Vietnam War. Stationed in the Army surplus store. Anyway, yeah, it's nice to do the speaking and the stand-up comedy because you do get to travel quite a bit. Any former New Yorkers here? One, sir? Okay. One thing, it's a little hard to getting used to the Bronx anyway, because everybody there speaks like Sylvester Stallone. I mean, this is no exaggeration. Every conversation you have seems to sound like this. Yo, Carl, what do you think? Maybe we spar a couple rounds, huh? Oh, no, I don't think so. Not today, Susan. I flew over on, Horizon from San Francisco, which is quite a place over there. I see some strange things in San Francisco. I passed a jewelry store. There was a sign in the window that said, "Ears pierced while you wait." What is the alternative to this? Right? There's another store down the street, you leave your ears overnight. Anyway, well, I've been asked to say a few words about the importance of humor in building relationships between people. As Victor Borge once said, humor is the shortest distance between two people. There's no dichotomy between being serious and having fun. Winston Churchill was noted for having a great sense of humor. Anthony Eden, one of my favorites, Prime Minister of Britain, one of the greatest ever. He was in Parliament, 1969, the year of the Apollo mission. And it was announced, the Americans had just landed on the moon. Eden's query, all of them? Sense of humor. I get most of my material from watching what goes on around me. A lot of times that's the key. Watch what goes on around you, because we all do strange things. I certainly do. Here's something. Maybe you've been walking out of the office and you remember something. You go back and get it. Do you ever wonder why you snap your fingers? Well, imagine what an idiot you'd look like if you did this. Again, Joan. That guy's an idiot. Or maybe you recognize a friend of yours. You recognize somebody walking down the street. You go after him, trying to get his attention. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill. You get right up to him and he turns around and it's the wrong person. And you say, "You're not Bill." Hey, he knows that. And he's probably really glad that he's not Bill. Because if he was Bill, he'd be a friend of yours, and you're obviously an idiot. Great political humorist Will Rogers once said that being a comedian is easy because you've got the whole government of the United States working for you. And I know that I get a lot of material, some of our great political leaders. One of my favorites was former governor of Georgia, Lester Maddox. Anybody remember Lester? A couple people? I mean, he was It's great. I mean, everybody's got their own anecdote, but one of mine favorites, he was coming under some fire because of the horrible state of Georgia's prison system. His reply, I think, was great. He said, I think that we are doing the very best we can under difficult circumstances, but realistically, we are not going to see much improvement until we start getting a better grade of prisoner. Here's a man who's gotten right to the heart of the problem. We've been letting all this riffraff into our jails. I find material in magazines as well, or books of one sort. I was reading a thing, actually this is a couple years old, but I was reading a thing in 1996, Business Week magazine, and it was talking about the president of Microsoft, Bill Gates. Anyway, it said that in the year 1995, Gates' earnings for the year came to $365 million. Now, I was impressed. I mean, this is $1 million a day. I don't know about you, but I figure you're making $1 million a day, you don't yawn when you get up in the morning. You yo. I mean, it's marvelous. You can afford to spend $300,000 just on breakfast. And you really don't mind the months with 31 days. Extra million. Of course, February is kind of a drag. Only 28 days in February. Might want to economize a little, maybe take in a roommate, wash him, who knows. Anyway, that, by the way, is a type of humor which is pretty straightforward in its development. It's called understatement. And basically, the way understatement works is you take something extreme, such as making $1 million a day, you put it into ordinary categories. And what happens, your listener pictures this thing in their mind or thinks about it, and the understated way you're talking about it will create an incongruity. And that's where the laughter comes from. One thing I'd like to recommend to you is the use of understatement as a communication device. Because that's true. Understatement is a way of making a point. And not only that, but it's perhaps one of the most powerful ways to make a point. A lot of times when we're talking to people, whether it's our staff or the voters or whomever, we have a tendency to use the American way, which is the hard sell, overstated kind of presentation. Lawyers do this. I mean, they imbibe toxic amounts of linear thinking, and that's the way they present everything. It's a straightforward manner. But when you understate something, now you are gaining a tremendous advantage. Number one, because it's more memorable. Just because it's unusual. We don't do it that much. One of the things about understatement, in addition to the fact that it is unusual and therefore more memorable, is that when you're understating something, you can never be accused of exaggeration. It just doesn't work that way. You gain immediate credibility by understating a point of view. You also have the advantage of the audience, the listener, is making your point for you, because they're picturing the real thing. Sir? May I call you sir? I can't see your name. That's right. I have one waking up. Well, that occurred to me too, but that's I don't really go too far out of my way, because F. Lee Bailey once said there was a juror that had fallen asleep, and he asked the judge, I don't want to wake the juror, Your Honor, but he's asleep. Do you mind waking him up? And the judge said, well, you put him to sleep, you wake him up. But, I mean, obviously, sir, I can tell from looking at you that you're a member of the upper crust, that you are extremely wealthy. You undoubtedly, among your other vehicles, have a Rolls-Royce limousine. You're right. Okay. Now, how would this gentleman refer to that vehicle? As the Rolls-Royce, the Rolls? Anybody?
The wife's car.
There we go. The wife's car. Good. Thank you. Yeah, you got a Rolls-Royce limousine. You don't need to punch it up. The audience can look at it, and your listener can see what you've got. And the fact of the matter is, that's it. If you want to pad your part a little, you can call it the jalopy or whatever. I get material a lot of different places. I spend some time in the post office occasionally. In the post office, they try to keep you amused. They got pictures around. I'm looking at one of these things. It's, really, this kind of scruffy, tough-looking individual Turns out to be the employee of the month, but that's another matter. But in fact, I'm looking at these pictures, and most of them are wanted posters, which really surprises me because I'm wondering, why do they always put these in the post office? I mean, are these guys really avid letter writers? The other thing that bothers me is, why didn't they hang on to this guy when they took his picture? I mean, what was that scene like? Well, Scarface, we got the photo. You can take off now. Don't try to buy any stamps. I noticed that people who sell a personal possession, car or whatever, they'll frequently have a sign in the window that says, "For sale by owner." Right. Why do they feel that it's necessary to specify it's going to be sold by the owner? And who else would sell it? You know, Marge, the Rogers haven't been using their boat much lately. What do you say we sell it? One of the things I was going to give you a quick example. How many golfers do we have here? A few, quite a few, several, 1, 2, 3.
All the sheriffs on the back row.
Okay. How many are not willing to admit their golf? Okay. I shoot a little golf, and I shoot in the low 80s. If it gets any hotter than that, I'm out of there. But for you golfers, let's imagine yourself going with a friend to a golf course. They ask you to join a pair of strangers to make up a foursome, and off you go. Now, maybe you're having a bad day. You miss a couple shots. You say, "I'm the worst golfer in the world." Now, that is an exaggeration. Except for one poor, sorry individual on the planet. That's exaggeration. Now, it's not the kind of thing that a comedian would use or a public speaker. It's not quite strong enough or even near strong enough for public presentation. However, in an actual situation when you're out golfing, the delivery's right, I get laughs with it or a smile, and you might too. But here's something that's important about that. Anyway, here's something you might think about. If you were to say, "I'm the worst golfer in the world," even if it doesn't get a laugh, you have still done something that's quite important. You have shown that you don't take your golf too seriously, that you have a sense of humor about it, that you don't take yourself too seriously. This is one of the most valued of social traits. Having a sense of humor and demonstrating it is more than worthwhile, whether you get a laugh or not. Anyway, I was actually in Monterey, California a few months ago doing a speech for a group of basically plumbers, Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association. Anyway, I was over there and I get a call the night before from the president. He says that we're having our association golf tournament tomorrow. We'd like you to join us. And I'm saying, well, I'm not really that good a golfer. And he says, well, don't worry about it, because we're going to just have some fun. We will have handicaps. We're going to give away some prizes. We will provide you with a caddy. We'll provide you with some golf balls. So come along. And I said, sure, because I figured they're going to provide me with a caddy. See, I thought they were talking about an automobile. Actually, they just met a young man. He's going to help me look for lost balls, carry the clubs, etc., etc. So anyway, I arrive there, and here's the caddy, and I asked him, well, are you good at finding lost balls? And he says, yes, sir. And I said, good, go find me one, and let's get started. But he said, well, you don't have to worry about it, because they really did give me 6 brand new Titleist golf balls, and so we got some. So off we go. Well, we're at a place called Spyglass. Any golfers have heard of this? A couple? Have you played it, sir? Tough course. How'd you do?
It's a hot day.
Hot day, right? More than 82. Yeah. No, that is a tough course. It's over by Pebble Beach, and it's a really beautiful thing, but it's so long, and the fairways are narrow, and there's water all over the place. They have traps. And the fact of the matter is, I'm playing with the executive committee and the president, or two members of the board and the president. So I'm a little nervous and really wasn't playing that well, because about halfway through the 3rd hole, I had lost all 6 of the golf balls. And now bear with me on this. You know, really it's the caddy's job to watch the ball, right? And I was a little fed up. I said, you know, you've got to be the worst caddy in the world. He said, oh, I don't think so, sir. That would be just too much of a coincidence. A lot of my material comes from various places. I watch some of our presidential candidates, and I know some of you have to run for office yourselves, and so I thought I'd pass along a little bit of what I've learned from watching some of the people operate at that national level. One of the most important things seems to be that you don't want to risk offending potential voters by being too specific about what you're going to do. So it's actually nice to be a little vague. Now, one thing that I have done is to write an all-purpose political speech. It can be used under a variety of circumstances, almost any circumstance. Feel free to write this down and use it. It goes something like this. My friends, and you are my friends, I feel that the time has come to speak out. For I believe, as I've always believed, that we will. All of us, as we have before, and can, nay, must, if we are to be. And make no mistake about it, we can't afford not to be. And let's be perfectly clear about this. In the past few months, we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that we do. And we'll continue to do, strongly, firmly, yet gently, as we have in the past and are quite capable of doing yet again. Need I say more? But, and this is a big but, now and at the same time, and this is a decision only you can make, shall we? But I can hear you thinking, if only it were that clear. Now, I know, and here I must disagree for a moment, for where would this country be without this great land of ours? And I have the facts to bear me out. But we can't do it alone, for we believe, as we've always believed, that without the future, there can be no tomorrow. I'm sorry. Should we go on supporting foreign dictators, or take better care of the ones we have at home? No, I feel that we, and when I say we, I mean us, strong in our weakness, yet weak in our strength, never fleeing from fear, but never fearing to flee, shall so strive to preserve, nay, strengthen the pillars of apathy and corruption which we have labored so long to build, and to prove to the world that there are bigger and better crises ahead. Good night. Thank you.